Thanks for joining us for day 5 of our live streams leading up to Restart a Heart Day, which is tomorrow, Saturday, October 16. Today we take the time to explore some of the myths around cardiac arrest, CPR and AED use, and work through some of the fears we might have in helping out in the case of a cardiac arrest to help you become more confident to help save a life.
Hi, my name is David Waters and I'm the Chief Executive of the Council of Ambulance Authorities. Welcome back to Restart a Heart Day webinar series and activities. And a special welcome back to those of you who have been joining us throughout the week so far. Knowing CPR and how to use an AED is one thing, but feeling that you are ready and that you can jump in to help might be a bit daunting. Today, we want to help shed some myths and help shed some feelings of hesitation you might have. Let's start with myths first. Some very common myths are: myth 1, you can hurt a person by performing CPR or using an AED. Truth. If a person is at the point of receiving CPR, technically they're already dead. CPR and defibrillation are the single most effective treatment for a cardiac arrest. CPR can only help the casualty at this point, even if it's not performed perfectly. In the event of a cardiac arrest, it's better to attempt CPR than do nothing at all. Myth 2, it will be fine to wait until the paramedics arrive. Truth. When someone suffers a cardiac arrest, for every minute that they do not receive CPR, their chance of survival drops by 10%. The average emergency response time for an ambulance is 8 minutes or longer. Bystander CPR, that's you, is literally the difference between life and death for many victims of out-of-hospital cardiac arrest. Myth 3, bystanders can be sued for performing CPR incorrectly. Truth. While unintentional injuries like breaking a rib can occur in the process of administering CPR, Good Samaritan laws protect those who provide emergency medical assistance, even if it's unsuccessful. Myth 4, mouth-to-mouth resuscitation is necessary to perform CPR effectively. Truth. Not true. Rescue breaths can be given if it is safe to do so. But if it's not, chest compressions alone can and should be performed. CPR that solely involves chest compressions can be just as effective as standard CPR. Myth 5, cardiac arrest is the same as a heart attack. Truth. The two conditions are not the same. A cardiac arrest is sudden, unexpected cessation of heart function that occurs when there is an electrical disturbance in the heart that causes it to stop beating altogether or makes it quiver weakly and inefficiently, interrupting life-sustaining blood flow to the body and oxygen to the brain. A heart attack, on the other hand, is caused by a blockage in blood flow to the heart muscle. While a heart attack could, in some cases, lead to cardiac arrest, they are decidedly not the same. Our friends at the Michael Hughes Foundation, with support from New South Wales Ambulance Service, have spoken to people who perform CPR and asked them about their experiences. These are real people, not medical professionals, who, when somebody around them has suffered a cardiac arrest, has jumped in and performed CPR. They share with us what's involved and what it really felt like. Don't forget to join us tomorrow for Restart a Heart Day for more stories and information on cardiac arrest. Amongst others, we will speak to experts about baby CPR, heart-safe communities, and more. Thank you for taking the time to join us for Restart a Heart Day. And remember to share with your friends and families and jump on the social media for hashtag 9for9challenge. Understand the difference between cardiac arrest and a heart attack, perform CPR, and save a life. Thank you.
We hear from people who responded to those around them suffering a cardiac arrest, on what it felt like and what the experience entailed.
I knew instantly that something was very wrong. Very wrong.
Cardiac arrests are experienced across all population groups.
But when someone has a cardiac arrest, they stop breathing.
And I just grabbed my husband and my son and held on really tight because it wasn't my family member that was going through that.
He went like a strange grey colour that I just thought was really odd.
You've got to do something, you can't do nothing.
So you're going to have to compress the chest fairly hard. If you hear some cracks, carry on.
We don't want to scare people, but these are the realities of life.
In New South Wales, we generally see the average response time for a cardiac arrest as being about 7 minutes. It's very normal for a patient who is in cardiac arrest to vomit or have some blood around their mouth. Because of concerns around exposure to infectious disease, the recommendations have moved away from providing mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Effective chest compressions and early defibrillation are the mainstays to achieving successful resuscitation. A number of patients when in cardiac arrest can have some clenching of their jaw. That's generally the result of low oxygen. What we would encourage you to do is roll that patient onto their side. Where it's safe to do so, remove any food or dentures from their mouth and then place them back on their back in order for you to start chest compressions. If a patient is cold or grey or blue, you should still commence chest compressions. Some patients can make some sounds, or as you're pressing on their chest, you can force some air out of their lungs, which can make some unusual sounds in the patient's mouth. Again, you should not be put off by those sounds. It's a normal occurrence in cardiac arrest. The tongue can fall back in the mouth, but it cannot be swallowed, and it doesn't pose a significant risk to these patients. The law is very clear that you will not be held liable if you provide CPR to someone who is in cardiac arrest and who needs urgent medical attention.
You've got to do something, you can't do nothing. My regrets about my scenario, I think would be tenfold had I done nothing.
You know what? If you're not scared, there's something wrong with you. Truly. The person's going to have a better chance of survival by giving it a go at least.
You're keeping the person alive, which is the first and foremost thing about CPR, is that you're keeping oxygen to their brain and keeping them alive.
I think as long as anyone just, throws all of your reservations aside and just dives in and attempts to start compressions, that's better than nothing, surely.
You're not going to do this person any harm. Anything you do is going to be helpful.
It will be confronting. It is demanding. It's an exhausting activity. It can result in some minor injuries to the patients, but these patients' life literally hang in the balance. And if you don't provide CPR at all, they will surely die. So some CPR is better than nothing at all.
Unfortunately, in the litigious world in which we live in, I think that probably does jump into people's heads, but rest assured, you're not going to be held accountable.
It went through my head very quickly, the thought that what if I'm doing the CPR wrong? What if it doesn't work? But I had to try anyway. You have to try anyway. I definitely sort of thought after, is anyone going to ring me and say, hey, what did you do and what have you done and where are you? And
yeah, so in all states of Australia, I think they term it the Civil Liabilities Act, but it's generally termed the Good Samaritan Act. So it covers for people's actions when delivering first aid. No one's been sued for doing first aid.
And in actual fact, the law is very clear that you will not be held liable if you provide CPR to someone who is in cardiac arrest and who needs urgent medical attention. When you call 000 because someone has had a cardiac arrest, the 000 operator can provide really important and in fact life-saving advice about what to do.
She just tried to bring me back into the moment and to stop the panicking and just try to keep me very calm and very focused on doing like the breaths.
And she said, he's obviously in the bed, you need to drag him off the bed onto the floor. I said, I can't, like he's 6'4", he's 90 kilos, I'm tiny, I can't, get him off the bed. And she was stern with me, but, supportive and said, you need to start CPR.
So they will explain to you how to perform chest compressions, how regular to perform those compressions.
And she was just amazing. She kept me so calm and talked me through the compressions and when to do the breathing, and yeah, I couldn't have done it without having her on the other end of the phone.
And they will provide you support and guidance right through to when the paramedics arrive.
Yes, I did give breaths, yep.
Yes, I did give breaths, yeah.
No, I didn't, no.
Effective chest compressions and early defibrillation are the mainstays to achieving successful resuscitation. And because of concerns around exposure to infectious disease, the recommendations have moved away from providing mouth-to-mouth resuscitation.
When you do the training, you've got a plastic alcohol wipe and you put a plastic over it and it's got a hole, and I didn't have anything like that. So there was 3 other people in the room and someone put their hand up and did it. And for me, that was a big relief because it is very confronting to have to do that to a stranger. I don't imagine that would have been a problem if it was my husband or someone else that I knew.
We're lucky enough the AED came very quickly, and they also had an ambu bag as well. So we were actually able to do a combination of cardiac compressions and also bag mask ventilation, which is where you put the mask over the person's face and you're able to deliver them some air by squeezing a bag.
Can you injure somebody by doing CPR? When will the ambulance get here? Who will help me? And so many more questions answered by the people who responded to a cardiac arrest.
So a cardiac arrest is obviously the highest priority response, and it will automatically result in at least 2 ambulance resources responding, including an intensive care paramedic. And in New South Wales, we generally see the average response time for a cardiac arrest as being about 7 minutes.
Yeah, I don't know how long I would have been doing the CPR, maybe 5 or 10 minutes.
I think about 20 minutes. It could have been longer. As I said, it felt longer.
Look, it felt like a lifetime, but I think it was probably about 15 minutes.
About 10 minutes it took for the ambulance to arrive, and I remember looking out of my window and seeing the lights.
So you can expect a number of paramedics to arrive.
There were about 5 or 6 of them that all arrived at once. Thank Christ.
We love sharing cardiac arrest survival stories with you. Sadly, these are rare and few because only 1 in 10 patients who suffer a cardiac arrest out of hospital will survive.
The plane was a bit late getting in. It's a fairly long way to walk, and Laurie went a bit fast.
My head started feeling little wounds, and then I don't remember a thing. Gone. Yeah.
Straight away, a man came in and started resuscitation. I realised then that he had died. And Laurie was away a lot. I just accepted the fact that he would go and be home when he was ready, because that's what we were doing for a living.
We were building something up for the boys, having something for them to carry on. Sometimes family was suffered by that, and that hurt. But you get to the retired stage and you have time to be with those kids. You have time to be with your wife. You have time to be where you should be in a family, yes.
581. Thank you, SA Ambulance Service. What is the exact address of the emergency?
Adelaide Airport.
Thank you. Okay, tell me exactly what happened.
An older gentleman just fell on the ground. He is dead. They're working on him now doing CPR.
They're doing CPR?
Yes.
And is there any serious bleeding?
Yep.
Is there a defibrillator available?
Yeah, they're doing.
All right.
Everyone clear.
Okay, the machine will tell you what to do. Follow its instructions.
Delivering shock.
Did they shock him?
Shock
yeah.
delivered.
Okay, so is he breathing?
The next thing I knew, I was in the vehicle, and the things that kept going in my mind was my family. Gwen, where is she?
I'm so grateful that Laurie was revived and that he is here today. He has been very good to me over these years and good to our family.
And now the reward is here, that David and his son are operating the 15 trucks now. Everyone working together and bring it into fruition. Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. Tomorrow is Restart a Heart Day. Join us for a 1-hour special where we will hear from survivors of cardiac arrest, listen to experts talk about their expertise in the field, explore some of the technology that is helping save lives of cardiac arrest victims, and more. In the meantime, head over to restartaheart.net where you can learn more about CPR and AED awareness, order a CPR education kit, get your hands on a limited edition Restart a Heart Day Build-A-Bear, and download a digital tools pack to help spread the word. Don't forget to take part in the #9for9 challenge. We'll see you tomorrow.